Good afternoon and welcome to Valley Views. I'm your host, Glenn Edison. We're certainly glad to have you. And as always, you can see these programs on BTC Fiber's cable channel 18 as well as their YouTube page. Go there and like it and subscribe. And today we have with us Dylan Hankins, who's the Assistant Chief of the Pikeville Volunteer Fire Department, and Garrett Angel, who's the Chief of the Volunteer Fire Department. Thank you guys for being with us today. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
And I guess a little bit, I always like to get into history of people and folks. So we'll start with you, Garrett. How long have you been a firefighter?
Well, I started, it's been about 2011, been the year I graduated, and actually started earlier in the year, but because I had to wait till I was 18, on my birthday I could officially join the department. So my birthday present from the department was start my training.
Yeah.
So I've been here since 2011, been pretty active the whole time. I had been an officer of the department since 2017, and then I guess recently, since Chief Swafford retired, I've taken over as chief then. I held captain up till then.
Yeah, I remember that was just not too long ago he retired, right?
Yes, sir, that's correct. About 1st of January.
Yeah. And Dylan, what about you? How long have you served?
So sort of similar to Garrett's story, I started in 2011, towards the latter part of that year. Since then, I felt like I've been pretty active that whole time, doing a lot of different odd and end functions beyond just, responding to calls. And since then, I think it was about 2016 or 17, I took my first stop at lieutenant. And so I've served in that position for a couple years, eventually become captain, served there for a short time period, become assistant chief. This will be my 5th year as the assistant chief here at the department.
Oh, okay, good. So between the two, y'all got quite a bit of experience.
We've got experience, yes.
Yes,
Well, one thing I think a lot of people don't realize is the amount of training that y'all have to go through just to be a firefighter. Because a lot of people have this idea that when the alarm goes off, everybody rushes to the station, gets the truck, and goes to the fire. But there's a lot to it before it gets to that point.
That's correct. State of Tennessee requires just to even be part of the service and kind of respond to your first call to say you have to sit through a 16-hour class. That's a state proctored class that it's an intro to emergency services. It just teaches you the basics of what you should know to even set foot on the scene, and that just gets you to the point of getting in the truck. And kind of beyond that, before you even start looking at actually fighting fire, there's another 64-hour class that you got to take before you can even consider going into the house and fighting the fire. So that's usually broke up over about a month worth of time, evenings and weekends of training. So once you get beyond that, you have to do a live fire at Bell Buckle, Tennessee, at the Tennessee Fire and Codes Academy, and that's another 16-hour class. And once you get to that point, that gets you just to the point of where you can fight fire in the state of Tennessee and be considered good to go in.
All right, and I know, of course, a lot of little boys and everything when they're younger, they want to be a firefighter or a policeman, and then, but like you say, when you go into that training, when you actually go into a live fire, that changes things, doesn't it?
Yes, sir. It's definitely different. It's not there's nothing you can really do to prepare yourself for that outside of just doing it. And you can do all the training you want, but when you set foot in there for the first time, it's a different experience.
Well, and also, I guess each fire is actually different. I mean, you go into one place, you may have a lot of electrical issues you have to take care of before you can actually get in and fight the fire, and there's a lot of you might have gasoline or propane tanks outside. There's a lot of little things that go on before you actually fight the fire.
Yeah, and I would say that, we treat every fire with the same respect, and we also know that every fire is a hazmat incident too. We never know what's in there. You never know until you get in and start searching. A lot of times you show up and the homeowner says, well, yeah, this is in there, I had this, and it's common things we use every day, but in the right environment, there could be very deadly. So we approach every fire with that same respect.
Well, it could be a gun owner who has ammunition.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want live fire going off at you.
No, we've been there and it's not fun. It definitely, like you said, every fire is different. You you kind of approach it with the same mindset every time. You show up, and your first arriving person on scene is considered your incident commander at that point until a higher officer arrives, and then that command is transferred. And that person or officer at that point starts the initial breakdown, to say, of what's going on, and starts doing a scene size up and walking around the structure and actually seeing, because we've showed up to structures before that you would think, well, this may be a house trailer or a one-level residence, and you walk around back and you find a full basement.
Yeah.
You know, and that can be quite the shock and surprise for you if you don't know that that's there. And you use the same training and set of rules basically to kind of ascertain the situation and get a grip on it, and then you go from there. And once you go, you start learning more and more about it, and you learn how to adapt and overcome. So,
Right, and of course, there's always, like I say, the danger part of it. I mean, it's not everybody wants to run into a fire, right?
no, it kind of goes against what the good Lord put in you not to do. So, but
it takes special people to do that.
yes, sir, it does.
Now, how many people do you have here serving in your department?
I think as of recently, we now have 24 people. That number fluctuates from time to time. Back about 2011, we were looking somewhere at about 40 people. That number's kind of went down some, and it's not just a local problem, it's a national problem.
Right.
Nationally, you know, the National Volunteer Fire Council posts those numbers every year, and just like us, we're pretty well hand in hand every year. We're losing at the same percentage, so it is difficult to find people that are willing to do that, do this type of work.
Right, I mean, you know, it's not, it is scary anytime you go into a fire, because like I say, you never know till you get in there what's going on. And, you just have to overlook a lot of that stuff, don't you, when you get in?
Yeah, and I mean, you kind of, like I say, you start on the training, and it all falls back to that. That is your baseline for what to do. And you get inside and you may get inside and find that you've got a good floor, or you may find out the homeowner decided to redo the floor, and there may be a giant hole you didn't know about.
Yeah.
But it is.
Well, and let's talk about gear for a minute. A lot of people don't realize your turnout gear. It's quite expensive, isn't it?
Yes, sir. What was the current?
You know, a recent estimate we had on that, and let's just talk about what we would call PPE, personal protective equipment, which we typically consist of as a helmet. We'll have a Nomex hood that goes over you. We'll have a jacket. We'll have pants. We'll have boots. We'll have gloves. That's usually what I think of. We'll also have an SCBA that's a self-contained breathing apparatus that helps us breathe when we're in those type environments. But without the SCBA, I think recently we're looking almost $4,000 just per person.
Per person.
You know, your boots, in most situations, are about $500. Pants and coat, you know, they may range anywhere from $1,200 to almost $2,000. A helmet now is somewhere in the $500 range. So kind of depends on what you're looking for. Here, you know, we try to keep our people staffed with the best that we can get. We certainly want them to be comfortable with what they're wearing and know how to use it, but we also too just want to make sure we're taking care of them.
So you're talking basically with 24 people, you're talking about $100,000 right there just in equipment only.
Absolutely, and one thing I failed to mention is, you know, there's lifespans on those things, and somebody put it good the other day, but you can have a coat for one time. You may rip that coat, it may be the last time you'll ever wear it, but at the end of the day, there are certain time frames that's put in place by NFPA that requires us to replace those. There may be a brand new set hanging up that someone never received, it's still up for replacement.
Wow. Well, that's interesting, because that means that your department is always having costs constantly.
Absolutely. You know, and I'll say this, we recently received a grant. So for about the last 3 years, we always rely on grant funding for things of this nature, if at all possible. We for about the last 3 years, I think we replaced somewhere of about 10 sets, 11 sets of gear to the state of Tennessee, Tennessee VFAC grant, which is the Tennessee Volunteer Firefighters Equipment and Training Grant. And we've been fortunate to replace some through there. The last time we received a large turnout gear grant was in 2014. It was through FEMA. And at that point in time, we replaced all the gear in the department, and you know, everyone was good to go. We're at that 10-year stage. It's time to go ahead and replace anything that hadn't been replaced. Fortunately, through people that have kind of left and gear that we've had, you know, left over and such. But we've made it to this point. We're on track pretty good now. Everyone's staying in a set of gear that's in compliance. No one's out there wearing stuff that's not in compliance. So we've been really fortunate to be able to replace that type of equipment through this state grant.
And that's another reason, other than the grants, that's another reason why y'all have fundraisers and things of that nature, so you can help refurbish.
Absolutely.
Because y'all don't charge fees to fight the fire.
No, we don't charge a fee for anything we do.
And so you're basically, as the term comes, volunteer fire department. That's what you are, is made up of volunteers. You don't get paid. And a lot of times you go at times when there's storms and thunder and lightning out, and you're out there fighting a fire, or cold weather, hot weather, doesn't matter. And your turnout gear, I know, especially on hot days, it gets pretty warm, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does. It gets warm just in the winter months. It can be 20 degrees outside and you can be sweating.
Yeah.
So you put all that on, and with our SCBAs or air packs, we usually call them, you're starting to look at about 45 pounds total weight when you start looking at the gear with the boots and the helmet and the pack. And then you consider a fireman he usually carries a set of irons if he's not carrying a hose, which would be an axe and a bar. So you easily add up to 45 pounds real quick just right there.
Yeah, and that means you have to be physically able to do all this.
That's correct.
You can't be out of shape.
Yeah.
Not like me, I guess, because I'm out of shape. But that's important to know, because lets people realize that y'all are Johnny on the spot. When you get your call, you go up. Matter of fact, I've been in town when y'all been toned out before, and y'all pretty quick about getting there when you can. But with all of you with jobs and things, sometimes not everybody can go.
Yeah, that's the big thing, especially when you look at like a normal work week. You look at the hours, say between 6 a.m. and 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. Most people are gone to their normal jobs that's paying them and keeping them able to afford to be able to come down here. So during those hours, it gets tough, and especially if you start getting car accidents or you get a fire in those hours, we rely heavily on hoping that we've got people that are, sometimes you get some retired people or people who have jobs where they work night shift or somehow able to be off during those hours. And beyond that, it's relying on all the other fire departments nearby, and it could be as far as pulling people from Dunlap or just the rest of the county and the mutual aid. That's what keeps us being able to do it.
Now, y'all have fire departments out on the mountains, right? They're part of Pikeville, but they're part of the community.
Sure, yeah, they're within Bledsoe County, so they would answer to Bledsoe County, whereas we're part of the city municipal department. So a little different structures, but sort of the same thing.
You got 9 total departments in the county.
Okay.
9 total fire departments. Three on the mount, on each mountain, and 3 in the valley.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
And y'all can back each other up then.
Yes, sir.
And you mentioned a while ago about accidents, for example. Y'all roll out on accidents as well, don't you?
Yes, sir. I guess another thing too is when people look at the fire department, they may just think, they see the fire trucks, everybody initially will think they just respond to fires. And honestly, the fire service in general, just over years, has transformed. It initially started that way, but then you started getting cars and car accidents and a lot of things, and somebody had to fill the gaps there to help. So City of Pikeville, we offer extrication services for any kind of car accidents. Pretty well first call extrication for anything that happens within our jurisdiction here. And we back up any of the county departments, or rescue squad, or whoever needs it throughout the county, or even in neighboring counties. We have responded into neighboring counties to assist them as well with one. But we also, we fight wildfires, we fight car fires, any kind of structure, building fire. Car accidents, help with search and rescues. We have our UTV has the capability of carrying somebody out in a basket on the back of it if they're hurt, and that's something that we've recently added to our fleet and a service that we can perform. And we've been getting used if somebody gets in an accident, say an ATV accident out in the middle of the woods, that we can get them out in a faster, safer, controlled manner. And we keep trying to push into helping with setting up a rope team within our department to assist with the mountains around here. You get a lot of people with a car accident or just falls off a mountain here, and you're waiting on outside resources coming from Cumberland County or Sequatchie County, and it takes time.
Well, I know, wasn't it out in near the falls where a gentleman had fallen about 200 feet down and he wasn't discovered for a day or so?
Yes.
That was sometime this spring, wasn't it?
It was It was around right at the first of the year. I think it's early January, and that particular call, it took there was about 65 different personnel. When you get into something like that takes a lot of people, and it takes a lot of resources from all over. And once we do eventually get us set up, we're still going to need a lot of help, but we will be able to start and get somebody down to whoever's hurt and start the process of medical treatment or whatever they may need.
Yeah, because that would be I guess the most essential thing is starting that medical treatment, because you don't know how they are until you get down there, and they can't holler at you and tell you if they're really hurt.
That's correct.
True.
That's correct, and that's one of the fortunate things with our fire department. We have quite a few personnel in the department that's medically trained. You have people all the way from an emergency medical responder all the way up to a paramedic, RN, or even we have a doctor on the department. So we've got quite a good group of people that can offer more help than just being there to help get you out. But we also, on top of all that, I mean, we do hazmat calls. And a lot of people don't realize what a hazmat call may constitute. So just a vehicle accident in general, and oil or diesel spilled on the road, you've got to stop that. You got to stop it from getting into the river or getting into the dirt or anything like that. Any swift water, we've gotten involved in a few of those calls.
Yeah, I see those from time to time.
Yeah.
Those are not pretty.
Nope.
They're scary, actually.
They are, and we're hoping to eventually move in to have a full active team that can do that as well. But
And I think you're talking about having all these teams. I think a lot of the, from what I've been able to pick up from other departments in other areas, they're all trying to do this as well, because in the past they've just not had it, and maybe not had the funds to do it, nor the training, and had to depend on maybe somebody like Chattanooga or Hamilton County or some of the bigger cities. And now they're seeing, because the more active people we have, rock climbers and hikers and things going on these trails, and anything can happen. You could fall and break a leg, not be able to, if you're by yourself, you can't get out.
Yep.
And if you don't have communications at all, sometimes you don't have communication out on the mountain. So how are you going to get in contact, Yep. So that's why it's important. And I think that's a good thing that you're doing, because I think it makes the community feel safer as well. And I know y'all want the community to realize that y'all are really for them.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And and I guess one of the things I wanted to talk about too is your community support. I know they support y'all quite a bit, don't they?
They sure do. Yeah, absolutely. In times past, the building we're in currently renovated, did a lot of work to it. And honestly, if it weren't for the community, this would have never happened. You'd be, probably sitting in an empty block building today. But because of them, had to do a lot of fundraising. But through that, we were able to do what we're sitting in today. So really proud of that. But so many times there's not even just this building project, but just other projects that we try to take on, and different little things we try to do. The community funds that. And they do a really good job at it, and we're thankful for it.
Right, and I guess one way to look at it, they hope you never have to use you, but if they do, they want you there. And I was noticing some of your trucks, you've got a lot of nice trucks, updated trucks, and that I'm sure the community's proud of. And you mentioned your ladder truck that's currently in Dunlap, so you're waiting on your bay to be worked on. And but that's good, because a lot of people may say, well, why do you need a ladder truck? Well, you've got some buildings like the high school and other places that you can't just put a ladder to and go up.
Sure.
I mean, you could, but...
Yeah, and AvaGym was one of the big things that finally got the discussion going. That's when we really, truly realized that was something we were going to need. So super thankful to have it. But, just beyond fire-related stuff, the aerial really brings us a whole lot of different other services that we can provide that we in the past that we wouldn't have been able to even touch. So with just the training, just once we get it here, I think there's a lot of opportunities we'll have with that, and super thankful for it. I mean, there's a lot of cities that will probably never see as nice as of a tower as what we've come up with. And honestly, at one point we looked at it to try to see if there were others in the area that could even come close to that, and it's very, very rare. So super thankful for the city and county and others that's come together to get that for us.
Well, and I know a lot of companies, for example, when you mentioned Avigen, when companies start to look in communities, they look at fire protection, police protection, the education, and a lot of variety of things. And looks like you got them pretty well covered for right now. At least I know you wish you probably had more things, and like you say, you're working on those things. It just takes time. And I'm glad to see that, because with your grants and everything, because I know y'all work hard at what you do, and every little bit helps. And
100%.
I know everybody used to hate the buckets at the intersections and everything, but hey, that's part of it. And I'm sure what they can look here and look in your bay and see all the trucks and all your equipment, they can see their money well spent.
Absolutely.
And talking about the trucks, those are not cheap, are they?
No. They are not cheap. I think right now, if you just looked at a basic fire truck to replace any of the three that are sitting out there, and it would be not even to say a Cadillac version, those would be considered more Cadillac versions. They've got a lot of extra things on them. But just a base model truck right now, you're looking at just a starting price of almost $750,000.
Wow.
And that's and also on top of that,
then you have to equip it.
Yes, sir. And then the build times on them right now, most of your main manufacturers and small manufacturers in that line of business, they're saying anywhere from a minimum of 3 years to 4 or 5 years.
Wow.
So if you lose a truck due to an accident, or it just it fails and it won't pass the muster to say anymore, it can be quite a long time to get a new one.
Wow.
So we try our best to maintain our equipment and keep it as in tip-top shape as possible. And anytime there's something small, we try to fix it and keep it going, and try to avoid that issue. And then hopefully we can get a grant or something to replace them as time comes. But
right, because like I say, it's not like you have a little part on your car or your truck, you replace it. That's not like these.
that's correct. And that's another reason too. You look at it and you say, okay, there's 4 of those fire trucks out there right now. But the main reason is if one of them has an issue, needs a tire issue or anything small or simple, or the batteries just go down, or something as simple as that, you have the others that are sitting there that are just as equally equipped and ready to go to fill that spot. And most of the calls we run, you see at least 2 of those trucks run most of the time, if not 3. So,
right. Now, I didn't see on the far end, do y'all have a brush truck that y'all keep?
no, sir. We have the UTV.
Oh, the UTV, that's right, you mentioned that.
It has a skid unit on it, carries about 75 gallons worth of water, and we can get it into a lot more places. We're hoping maybe one day to add a brush truck to the fleet. We've been fortunate, 9 Mile and Lusk and Mount Crest have some nice little brush trucks that if we need them and it gets a little more than we can get into with that, they can come down and assist us.
Oh, okay, that's good.
That's another one of those projects we would hope to add to more of our service, expand our services in.
Right, and what about I know the water system here is limited what it can do, but you should normally have enough water to fight fires normally, shouldn't you? I mean, has there ever been a case where you come short with a major fire where you didn't?
A lot of the times, yes. Unless, right here within the city limits in Pikeville, we're pretty fortunate. Most hydrants will provide us some kind of supply. Some of them are better than others. It really just depends on what kind of water line size is running to them and where you're at on the main. If you're out here on Main Street, you got quite a large line, and your fire hydrants have good flow. If you get out here in the end of some of these neighborhoods, it may be a little bit smaller line, but the fire hydrant can get you by. The trucks all carry about 1,000 gallons of water
Oh,
on
okay.
them each, and that just gets you started.
Yeah.
Most of the house fires, if we're flowing from a hydrant, you may see us just for a single house fire, and it could be something as simple as just 2 rooms on fire. And you're looking at us flowing anywhere from 30 to 40, 50,000 gallons of water for something as simple as that.
Wow.
And we try to make sure that's just to make sure you get it out and it don't light back up. So we start getting outside. Our jurisdiction goes quite a bit further than just the city limits. We go just north of or south of Kelly Lane a little ways, and we go just north of Phillip Lane, almost to Slaughterhouse Road, and then almost basically to the top of each mountain going east and west. So we cover quite a large area. It's about 55 square miles that we have to protect. So you start getting outside of that area and get into some of these areas where there's no hydrants, then you go through water quick. If you start, you'll empty that 1,000-gallon truck with 2 fire hoses, and you can empty it about 4 minutes or less.
Wow.
So you've got to have more water coming quick, and that's where bringing tanker trucks in that can carry 2,000-3,000 gallons of water at a time and dumping it into a tank and then going and refilling becomes very important.
I know, talking about that, when the cookie jar there in Sequatchie County caught fire, they had to set up all those tanks.
Exactly.
And that was interesting to watch because I'd never seen that. I mean, I didn't actually watch it, but I saw the pictures. And I'd never seen that done before. And I thought, well, that's pretty neat the way all the departments worked together on that one, the ones that were there, because they had to, certain ones were tending to the, each area. They each had an area, and they all worked well together.
Yep. And that fire was, we actually ended up going up there and helping them with that. We didn't have a tanker to bring them, but was able to bring an engine with some men to help, and they went through, I think the estimate was well north of 50, 60,000 gallons of water just in that fire.
Wow.
To contain it. But so that's something that we're hoping to add to our fleet in the near future would be a tanker, and that would be extremely beneficial to us to be able to haul that much more water and
Right.
keep us going.
Well, and talking about hauling, since your trucks are not that light, you can't go 0 to 60 like you can in your car or your truck.
No, sir. Those trucks end up, each one of them weighs on average about 40 to 50,000 pounds each, and then the new aerial weighs 88,000 pounds. So you're looking at almost a fully loaded log truck with it.
Yeah.
You got to be very careful as far as they're not very fast, but as far as taking off, but honestly, they really don't need to be. They need to get there safely.
Yeah.
But you look at that and you start looking at a lot of these narrow roads that we have to operate on, narrow gravel, dirt roads, and the banks give way on those heavy trucks, or you get sometimes you get to a house where they may have had to build a little bridge to get into the house, a little wooden bridge, and if you get to it with something like that, you can't cross it. You have to lay a lot of line into it, and that takes quite a while.
Yeah, it takes down the time you can fight the fire by having to do all the extra.
That's correct.
Wow.
And the trucks they're quite large. I mean, they're wide and they're long and they're tall. So a big thing is people with long private driveways, even if it's a good driveway that can support it, still keeping the people like to plant the pretty Bradford pears and everything, and they overgrow. So keeping them trimmed back so you could fit that truck through there is important. It takes about a 12-foot by 12-foot box to fit those trucks through comfortably.
Well, that's something else, and that's probably something people don't think about either.
It is.
And I'm sure you've probably gone on those driveways that you've had to cross through.
Yep. You may come out with a few limbs still on the truck when you get done, but we do our best to get in.
Well, it's either that or have the house totally burned.
Yep.
So I'm sure they'd be glad to give up a tree or two. I would anyway.
Yes.
Well, is there anything we really haven't talked about that y'all would like to discuss that we need to bring out or talk about?
Well, I'll give a quick plug for our smoke alarm program here locally.
Oh, okay.
The state of Tennessee provides those free of charge to us. And so we're able to go out to any home within our district and put those in. A lot of times we'll get phone calls, people want to pick them up and such, but we can't do that. We do have to physically install those just to make sure that they're put in correctly. There's no limit on how many you can get. They've got a 10-year lifespan, so they're super good for that. You're not putting batteries in every time the time changes or anything. But that's a service that we provide. It doesn't cost us anything. Sometimes it takes us a little time to get out there. Try to usually schedule it in. Somebody will try to run by and take care of that for you. But those are provided free of charge. So that's something we do offer. We are sort of limited, and we try to just cover our district. If you don't live within our district, they're available to any fire department in the state of Tennessee. They just have to request those and go through that program with the state. So it's something that kind of want to give a shout out to. It's something we feel like is a really important priority here.
Yeah, because I'm sure you have found out probably at some of your own fires, the non-working smoke alarm, either didn't have a battery replacement or if it just wasn't working.
In fact, one of the questions that's asked us when we report this information to FEMA, did they have a smoke alarm? Was it working? So it's a big, it's very important to them, and it's something that we also want to make sure that's important to us too.
Well, it can save lives. That's
Absolutely.
just the bottom line. And I'd rather be woken up in the middle of the night with an alarm than not wake up.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, listen, I appreciate y'all being with us today. We appreciate it, and I hope everybody can learn from this. And it's been very informative, and I wish y'all well in your endeavors and all the equipment you're trying to get. And just remind everybody that, hey, you need to donate to these guys because they're the ones that are going to be saving you one day. So, and you can see this video, this interview, on BTC Fiber's YouTube page as well as BTC Fiber's Cable Channel 18. So until next time, have a great day. Hey everybody, this is Glenn Edison from Valley Views. We appreciate you watching our shows, and we would like for you to like, share, and follow us on Facebook, as well as like and subscribe to our YouTube page.